Hey, what is going on, guys? My name is DFree. Welcome back to another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video. This one's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be me talking about the potential system again and answering the question of critical hits or dodges. Or not dodges, excuse me. We don't do dodge. Most of the time, I'm going to just say this now. Intelligence units get a dodge +5 for free. Nobody else does. I mean, I don't have a problem with giving them dodge most of the time, but it's just not very useful. Intelligence gets it free, so why not? But regardless, we're going to talk about additional attacks versus critical hits. And I'm going to go ahead and show you guys a little bit as to what I'm talking about here. So, how this works, right? I'm using global for an example. Let me go ahead and load up my Gogeta. So Gogeta is a prime candidate for this because a lot of people ask, well, hey, should I give him critical hits or should I give him additional attacks, because he already kind of has a built-in critical hit. Because if you didn't know what critical hit was, it's the ability that allows you to bypass defenses, and it also allows you to hit super effective on any unit type. So it's kind of what Gogeta's gimmick already was. So that being said, that's what that does. Now let me go ahead and just show you guys, just to clarify. As it says, grants a rare chance of performing a critical hit that ignores the enemy's defense and is highly effective against all types. The higher the skill level, the higher the chance of giving a critical hit. So, as you see, right, and this doesn't just apply to Gogeta, this applies to all tech and STR units. They start off with a free plus level 5 crit. What I mean by free is it does not require a duplicate. These bigger nodes right here, that means I use the duplicate to unlock it. And after doing that, you get to these stars, and the stars give you a choice between two abilities. This one offers +3 to crits or additionals. This one offers 3 to crits or dodges. This one is dodges or additionals, which I chose the dodges, or the doubles, excuse me. This applies to all units. They all get a free +5 in something. Criticals are only on tech and STR units. So when it comes to units that hit harder, right, I would generally say give them crits, because all that does is take their output higher. And the dynamic of it is, additional attacks are good, right? And they seem to proc more often than criticals do, a lot more often if I say so myself. But additional attacks are good, but there's a couple things you need to keep in mind. Critical hits, like I said, bypass the enemy's type and defensive abilities. So, doesn't mean that if the enemy's like super tanky because they have a barrier on their boss stage, or something like that, that it'll bypass that. It'll bypass Broly's, because Broly's barrier is just really bad. It's really easy to break. It's just a defensive stat, honestly. But, for example, Super 17 that just came out on JP, when his actual barrier is up, he takes no damage from anything. Like, really minimal damage, which you guys may have seen already in my video with Extreme Team versus him. So, as far as this goes, man, additional attacks are really good, but they don't bypass that, and there's a possibility that the additional won't be a super attack. It can be a super, but there's a possibility it'll just be a normal attack. So in that scenario, the additional attack is not as valuable as a critical hit. But if you're choosing between dodges and additional attacks, always choose the additional. I mean, dodge can be clutch, right? What dodge is, it allows the unit to avoid the attack. You take no damage. It's just, for that really to be useful, it needs to be a higher level. Intelligence gets it at 5. Like, let me show you here. Their free is over here 5. If I took him all the way over there, I could use that and give evasion or dodge, +5, which isn't, like I said, not very noticeable or useful at that state. But if you use more dupes, you can come down this bottom right path, and this is the path for high potential. You get the biggest stat increases on this path, +100 in attack, and a lot of these nodes. And there are a lot of star options, and the stars are the only way to get anything that pertains to criticals, dodges, or additional attacks, aside from the free one that you get. Intelligence units are the only one that get dodges. The other two types, physical and AGL, get double attacks, so for free. So, kind of just wrapping up, now that I've gone ahead and explained, how you want to look at it is, let me actually find a good unit for this. Who's a good unit that has a stack on him? I know a bunch on JP, but I can't think of any right now on Global. Okay, let me use Super Vegito for an example. Pulling up Super Vegito's card, right? It says Spirit Sword, cause immense damage, allies attack +30% for 1 turn. That's very useful, right? It buffs your allies, so double attack on him would be very useful, because that's 2 30% stacks. So the next ally gets to hit pretty hard. So that's very useful. Does that mean that you should not give him any criticals? Heck no. Definitely give him a blend of criticals. You may want to prioritize, I don't know what the exact split is off the top of my head, but there's a limit to the levels you can get. Like on a unit that doesn't get criticals innately for free, like he gets dodges or doubles, excuse me, then they only get to like level 15, I believe, plus these from these stars if you unlock all the dupes and all their paths and stuff like that. So you should probably give him like a blend of like maybe level 11 additionals and then the rest being crits, which is like level 13, 12, 15, whatever the number amounts to on a unit like this guy. And the units that have super attack mechanics. So this Ultimate Gohan's a good example, right? This guy gets doubles for free, but units that have mechanics like this cost supreme damage and raises attack for 3 turns. Previously, prior to the latest Japan update, Japanese version of the game update, this wasn't that good of a mechanic, right? Because it would reset every time you beat the boss. And then he transformed or whatever, you get to the next stage of the boss, it would reset. But now on a unit like him, you can get 2 of those attacks off in 1 turn and double your stacking potential. Obviously, you don't have to wait as long to get the unit to optimal damage output. Crits will still be good on the unit if you have the opportunity, but you may want to prioritize something like a double hit on a guy like this. And if they're just generic hard hitters like Gotenks, he gets 5 for free. But if they're a generic hard hitter, you're going to want to do that, right? You're going to want to apply critical hits because this guy will start. I'm going to give him level 20 criticals. I think I can do that. This guy, and it'll probably be 6 additionals and 20 criticals when it's all said and done. But this guy will start to hit with that critical hit more often. And level 20 is the highest level you can get to. I think at that point, it's like a 40% chance of doing it. So, when it does proc off, this guy's going to hit for plus 2 million damage, which you guys saw in my tech video the other day. So that's pretty much what it comes down to. It varies on individual units. I hope I did a good job explaining it for you guys, but it varies. So what I will say is you're going to want to give a mixture of both to everybody, but criticals are going to be more useful on the units that get it for free, which is kind of why they get it for free. Not to say AGL units don't want to have it or physical units don't want to have it, and especially intelligence units, because intelligence units are probably the hardest one to gauge because they get dodges for free instead. So you're going to definitely need to pay attention to what you give them. But not to say that they don't, right? It's just, it comes down to the individual unit. And the last thing I want to talk about, now that this just came to mind, a debuffer. So a debuffer is a guy like Rildo. We'll just use Rildo for an example. Rildo, he gets criticals for free because he's STR, fine, but his super attack lowers the enemy's attack. On guys like him that debuff the enemy's attack and defense, I'm going to give him mainly, if I even touch this guy, but just units like him, mainly prioritize additionals because that's a double debuff. Very, 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 very useful on boss stages. So pretty much that's what it comes down to. And it doesn't really apply to stunners, by the way, because stunning is determined based on the unit slot that they're in. So if you ever have a stunner, you can reset the app and move them in a different slot in which maybe they stunned, maybe they didn't stun, but if you move them to a different slot, they won't do that stun that they did last time. It's kind of weird how the game works that way. And the same kind of applies to these abilities, I guess. But regardless, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video in which I kind of explained how this works. Generic hard hitters, guys that are top 10 damage dealers, LR Gohan, you want to prioritize that. Obviously, this is global. Gogeta, you want to prioritize that. God Tanks, you want to prioritize that. Like Omega Shenron, you want to give them critical hits too. Those guys that can hit with the best of them. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. Subscribe if you happen to be new, and I will catch you guys in the next video. And yeah, have an awesome day. Peace.